Hey, this is Al from Transformational Gaming. Appreciate you stopping by. Today I want to talk about an article written in Hardware Zone by a guy named Tim Augustine. And in this article, he talked about some of the new things that they're doing in Horizon Forbidden West and some of the things that got me excited. And I know everybody on Twitter has been really just excited, and everybody is excited about this article, and I wanted to talk about it because one of the issues that I had and one of the concerns that I had was the 60 FPS. So they're going to have, of course, two modes: the quality mode, which I don't use, and the performance mode. In any case, the article mentions a plethora of things, but specifically one that I wanted to focus on and there's a couple of things I want to focus in on, but the thing that I wanted to promote was the fact there is a 60 frames per second mode in this game. Yes, there will be a 60 frames per second mode in Horizon Forbidden West. And I think that's very important because, again, like I talked about in my last video, this is going to be an open world game. And I think that's very, very important for the game to really have a performance mode, because a lot of people, when they play open world games, man, they're playing it for the ability to use the gameplay and the ability to use all of the weaponry and combat and to use it in a smooth gameplay feel. So, and I know I was kind of ranting on that last video, but I really wanted to push the issue about how important it was to have a 60 frames per second mode, because not having a 60 frames per second mode, I think it would have turned a lot of people off and they would have just waited for the PC version, which we don't know if it's coming to PC or not. So most likely it will, since the first one went to PC, but the point is that we don't have to wait for the PC version. We got this, and that's very important. Now, how closely will it stick to that 60 frame per second cap? Who knows, right? There's a lot of animation in this game that they're going to have to pare back and make static. And if they don't pare it back, it's going to be a little choppy at 60 frames per second, I feel. There's other issues with this game, right? So one of the issues that was bore out in the interview, that the game is going to be cross-gen. Now, I don't think that's a real big deal, at least for Sony. It may be a big deal if it was on the Xbox Series X. And I say that because in the Xbox Series X, you got all type of issues. You got toolkit issues. You got all type of API issues. And Sony, even though they have a completely new GPU, the API does plug into the GPU pretty well. So I think that the good part of that is that it's not a real big difference with the same API that they use for the PS4. The good thing about it is that all of the issues that could come up from cross-gen is essentially mitigated using the tool set that they have at Sony. So I think a lot of people's concern about it being cross-gen, I think it's a kind of a moot situation, because there's no real concern that needs to be had for that situation. And I think Horizon Forbidden West was always made for the PS4. They probably planned on coming out with the next version on PS4, but I think what happened is that Sony just came to them and said, hey, look, we got another console coming out. So I'm not sure exactly where in development that was, but the point is that it probably was initially developed for the PS4. So plus, honestly, I think a lot of this stuff, as far as the graphics, now you have to pare it back a whole lot, but I think a lot of this stuff is doable in the PS4. You know, PS4, 5-10 years into the future, I think it's going to age very well. So I don't think that's necessarily a concern that needs to be had amongst gamers when you see cross-gen. It's not going to be like the Xbox Series X. Of course, yes, you're not going to be able to use all of the horsepower that's in the PS5, but the PS5 just came out. And I'm pretty sure putting it on the PS4 was a business decision. So there's no real technical holdbacks that to be had from that decision. I think Sony knows that these graphics could be pretty much done on the PS4. Now, is it going to be a lot more static on PS4? Absolutely. The background is not going to have all of the motion and the trees blowing and all of the other goodness that comes with the PS5 version. But I think that just shows how good the PS4 is, man. I mean, we can do all this technical comparison with the Xbox One X and the Xbox Series S, but at the end of the day, headroom doesn't matter if you got a good design. One of the developers mentioned in the article, he was saying something like to the effect, if we're going to bring it out for PS4, why would you think it would be 60 frames per second? Well, at the time when I did the video, I thought it was exclusive to the PS5. So, but that being said, I think all of this is good news. So just to wind this up, I want to talk about a few of the things that I had an issue with in the first game that they mentioned in the article. And one of the things was the combat system. Now, in the article, they're stating that the combat system is going to be mostly melee. And I thought that was interesting because, to me, on the first game, most of the gameplay was from the bow and arrow. You can argue, was that a good idea? I actually liked it. I actually liked the bow and arrow play that they had in the first game. I think the bow and arrow play allowed for the game to have more of a shooter's edge. And I think shooting is always more fun than hand-to-hand combat. But it's going to be interesting what they're going to do with the melee system. I do like they got the melee system mixed in with the bow and arrow mechanics. I think that's pretty good. See, another thing that they was talking about when I was reading through here is they was talking about destructible environments. And Digital Foundry talked about that too. I thought that was a little interesting. They didn't talk too much about it, but to me, I wouldn't want destructible environments in every state of the game, right? I mean, if you put destructible environments in every situation in the game, I mean, you're not gonna have a game. You know? So as long as they have it proportionally situated correctly, I'm not necessarily a big proponent of everything needs to be torn down. But yeah, in the set pieces, it'd be nice to have the enemies to be able to, you know, tear something down. I think that's good for, you know, viewership when people are watching the video and stuff like that. So to be totally honest with you, I'm fine with the set piece destructible environments. One more thing I want to talk about, or it's probably the last thing I'm gonna talk about for brevity here. I want to talk about the ray tracing, and I'm not going to talk that long about it, but I remember I did a video and I talked about ray tracing, and a lot of people say, hey, you know, Al, you was wrong about that ray tracing, man. Ray tracing is in almost every PS5 game there is, and that might be true, but from reading this article, and it's just a paragraph, it says, his name is Matthias D. John, and he said, we use ray tracing technology for a lot of things in the game. We use it for sound engine, for physics, and for the rendering. So we can use a variety of technical setups in terms of ray tracing. I'm not a technical engineer, so I can't explain it in much more detail than this, but yes, we are utilizing it. So I read that as a basis of, yes, you are getting ray tracing, but how much of it are you getting? Like, honestly, it's still kind of turning out to what I said, because if you look at it, they're using it sparingly. Like, they're not using ray tracing they're not using it as much as the PC is using it. Let's put it like that. And so I think that ray tracing is a spur of the moment, kind of tacked on feature to me. So they're going to use it in Horizon's Forbidden West, and that's excellent. I'm glad to see them doing it. because I also said in previous videos, and I'm saying it now, that to me, you're not going to necessarily get in the next phase of graphics until ray tracing becomes more normalized, because ray tracing, when it's used effectively, does add some realism to the scene and to objects and different things like that. So I do believe that ray tracing is a pivotal function to use. I just don't think they're going to be able to use it in this generation like the PC is using it now. You get a 3080 Ti and you can turn on ray tracing and you can have the most resolution as you want. What the PlayStation has, they're going to be using it sparingly, and they're going to be using it in different ways. That's pretty much it though. Again, I am so happy that they came out and was responsive to my video, because I really thought that we was going to be trapped in 30 frames per second land, and that would have been terrible. So anyway, if you got any questions, if you got any comments, please comment in the comment section and give this video a like. I know one person has been giving us a like, but we like to get more viewers giving us a like, man. I think we're doing pretty good work over here. This is Al for Transformational Gaming, and we done.